to Mythbusting, our, all the myths about practicing yoga. Before we start and have any kind of conversation about that, what I would like to do is just do a quick brief centering so that we can turn off the outside world and we can kind of come into a connection with ourselves. So with that said, I'd like to invite you to just set aside anything that you've got on, all electronics other than the one you're watching this with, pens, papers, and let's begin to sigh it out. If it feels comfortable, soften your eyes. And we're starting to turn our attention inwards. And as you turn your attention inwards, do so with a sense of curiosity. What's happening? What's arising within me today? And your objective note of awareness could be anything. It could be a body sensation that's really present, like an itch. See if you cannot scratch that itch, but instead feel that itch. Maybe it's a soreness or a tightness, or maybe it's a part of the body that feels good that doesn't normally feel good. It could be something as simple as the taste in your mouth from your last meal or snack, the smell in your nostrils. Noticing the feel of the cloth against your skin. Noticing the movements of breath, maybe in your nostrils, maybe your abdomen, your rib cage. And also notice your mind with curiosity. Your mind which may be immediately distracted or running off to some errand. Your mind may be rejecting, like, this is too hard to focus on those things. I don't want to. What is it like to observe that part of yourself? And within this observation, what is the most pressing need? Is there something arising from, let's start with the physical body. What does it need? If you're sitting on a floor, maybe your legs, one knee is like, hey, could you move me a little bit? Maybe your posture, allowing intuitive movement around your posture. Maybe allowing space around your breath. And by space, I don't mean free things up. I mean, let yourself have some space. Your breath doesn't have to be deep, expansive, slow, fast. Let your breath be its breath. Let it show up the way it most wants to show up. What about energetically? Tune into yourself energetically. That could mean tired or energized. It could also mean like the auric energetics. Is there a pressing need within your energy field. What about your mind? You are so much more than your thoughts, your feelings. So as you tune into the mind where thoughts and feelings are present, is it possible to observe, to notice that you are more than, and to observe? Perhaps encountering the most pressing need here. Let's take 3 deep breaths here. Whatever that means to you. You could apply techniques or just breathe. When you finish your 3rd breath, if the eyes are closed, allow them to soften and open slowly. So welcome everybody. I'm Rose Kress, the owner and director of LifeForce Yoga, and we're here today to talk about practice and to really myth bust, well, all those myths about yoga practice. So take a step back for a moment and pause, just to introduce you to LifeForce Yoga. For those of you that don't know what LifeForce Yoga is, LifeForce Yoga is about, well, living your best life mentally, emotionally, and even physically. A lot of yoga focuses on the physical aspects, and LifeForce Yoga focuses on the mental, emotional, energetic aspects of the being. So it's really practices for your optimum mental health. You can always visit our website, yogafordepression.com. You can visit our YouTube page, LifeForce Yoga on YouTube, for lots of free resources and videos, some quick, some long, all kinds of stuff. So lots of free resources for you on LifeForce Yoga tools. So the Yoga Sutras tell us that if we wish to still the waves of the mind, that we need to go through a series of practices. And it's outlined in the Yoga Sutras as the 8 limbs of yoga. 1 limb, so there's 8 of them. Where are my numbers? There we go, 8. One of them is the physical practice of yoga. But before we even get to the physical practice of yoga, one of the sutras is on abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa means practice, and vairagya means dispassion. Abhyasa is taken to mean the regular daily practice. We commit to a regular practice of yoga. The 8 limbs are about our relationships with the world around us, like non-violence and non-harming, non-stealing. Our relationship with ourself, which is about like cleanliness, purity, commitments, self-reflection. Then comes asana, which is movement. Then we get pranayama, which is breath. Then comes the turning of the senses inward. And then the last 3 limbs of the Eightfold Path are all about meditation. So we have concentration, meditation, and then absorption. But we're really here to talk about this practice. So all 8 limbs are a practice of yoga, first of all of them. The other meaning of abhyasa, and this comes from my teacher, Ramajoti Vernon, and I love this. She called it checking the downward pull. abhyasa, checking the downward pull. What does that mean? Well, it means that the downward pull, think of the downward pull. It could be the downward spiral in your mind, emotions taking hold and running your life. It could mean that tendency to want to collapse. I know a lot of us are struggling right now. A lot of us are struggling. So checking that downward spiral that we can find ourselves in, checking that downward pull into actions, behaviors that we know aren't good for us. And I don't mean like you shouldn't do that. I mean the things we know, like, eating right before I go to bed gives me indigestion, so I'm not going to eat before I go to bed. So checking those downward pulls, even though the mind might be drawn to something. So that's what abhyasa means, is checking that downward pull. And vairagya means dispassion. Again, the dispassion of like, I'm going to take a step back and not be so emotionally and passionately involved in everything that happens within my field of perception. So that's what practice means. One of the big myths of yoga practice is that you have to practice. Well, first of all, there's not necessarily myth, but there's you have to have a daily practice. And yes, it's true. For things to work, to change your life, you have to do it every single day. The myth then comes from, I need to go to an hour yoga class every day, or hour and a half, or hour and 15 minutes, whatever you're used to. Used to be in the 90s, like yoga classes were an hour and a half, and now like the yoga class is like an hour. So 90-minute yoga classes are really kind of a luxury these days that a lot of us are not partaking of. But so this myth of like, you have to practice for an hour every single day. Every single day. And, well, let me get there. Let's pause on that for a moment. So you have to practice every single day for an hour. Is that helpful? Well, absolutely. Practicing yoga for an hour every day is going to be super helpful. Is that possible? Well, yeah, it's possible. It means that there may be some things that you have to not do during your day. Maybe you give up something. Maybe you give up scrolling or watching a show, or all the things that we find ourselves doing. So it is possible to do yoga for an hour for most of us. Is it reasonable? No. I don't think it's reasonable to expect that everybody practice for an hour every day. If you're working 8, 10, 12 hours, you've got to feed yourself, you've got to take care of your home, you've got to sleep, you've got to unwind. Yes, yoga is a beautiful way to unwind. But maybe your unwinding time is 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I have a lot of friends that work in healthcare, and right now they do not have the hours in the day to do 60 minutes of yoga, feed themselves, do their laundry, take care of children or family members. So it is possible, it is reasonable, but is it really something we should expect of ourselves to do 60 minutes of roll out your yoga mat and do a physical yoga practice? No, it's not. You do not have to practice for 60 minutes every day. Yes, you'll get benefit from it. But if you're doing it and feeling resentful of the practice, how much good is the practice actually doing you? So then the next question is, well, what am I supposed to practice? What am I supposed to practice every day? Excellent question. What is your favorite pose? What pose do you love doing when you go to a class? Or what breath? Or what movement? Or what sound or chant do you love to do? Do that one thing. I have a favorite pose. Shavasana. Yes, Shavasana. So practice Shavasana every day. Lie down on the floor and practice Shavasana for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I use Insight Timer to just track my meditation. They've got some lovely music on there. You set a little timer, lie down, listen to the music, and then you're done. My favorite pose is standing wide-legged forward bend, Prasarita Padottanasana. I do that pose every single day, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. I don't know what it is about that pose that I love so much, but I just really enjoy practicing that pose. And so I do it every single day because I love it. And it's not necessarily doing a full yoga practice on my mat, but I am practicing that pose every day. Sometimes I'm practicing it while I'm teaching. Sometimes I practice it while I'm waiting for the water to boil. Or maybe when I come home from work, let me just do this pose for a minute. So we can do these practices in small increments. So if you have 5 minutes, set your phone down and do something. What was that pose? What was that thing we did in that one class? What was that thing she showed me? Oh yeah, I'm going to try that real quick. Oh, there's something on YouTube that's 3 minutes long. I'm going to try that for 3 minutes. If you did 5 minutes 5 times a day, that's 25 minutes of practice right there. What if you did that every day? You will end up with more time spent in practice during the course of your week than if you had set up to practice yoga for an hour every day and then found excuses for why you couldn't practice yoga every day. So the next myth that I would like to bust for you is the time of day for practice. You will be told that the best time for yoga is first thing in the morning. Is it actually? Yeah, it kind of is, because the mind, for most of us, the mind is in a place where it's a little stiller, like first thing in the morning. But, all those buts. Maybe that information is coming from somebody who's an early bird. And early birds, if you know anything about sleep cycles or circadian rhythm cycles and the breakdown of society, then you probably know that, it's definitely coming from the early birds in the chat. Yep, it's coming from the early birds. 40% of people are early birds. 30% of people, and I could be off on my percentages, 30% are night owls. And then you have another 30% that are somewhere in between. Evolutionary-wise, this was done so that there's always somebody watching the fire. So there's always somebody tending the flame and taking care of things. What it has come to mean in modern society is that the early birds are up first. And so they kind of dictate for the rest of us that are not early birds how things go, because they're there first. And we get this narrative about people who are night owls or just have a different sleeping rhythm, that because you're still asleep at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, you're lazy. When the reality is that people who are night owls are really productive in the late evening. And people who are early birds are really productive first thing in the morning. So we all have our rhythm of our day, of when we're most productive. I'm a night owl, and I'm definitely living in an early bird lifestyle, and it's just how things have worked out. It does mean I have to sleep more at night because my sleep cycle is different than what my body really wants it to be. But it also means that if I'm not in bed at a certain time, my mind starts and flips into this intense creativity mode that can be impossible to shut down. For years, I did a lot of writing at like 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night because that's when it was there. But then, I was expected to be teaching a yoga class at 7 in the morning, so I would have to get up at 5 in the morning, and that was really against my own rhythm. So all of this is to say we all have our own circadian rhythms, and you will begin to see when the best time for you to practice is. Now, all of that said, sunset and sunrise are these in-between times, and they are said to be, within the yoga tradition, the best times to be doing our practice, and in particular our meditation practice. So because I'm in that early bird world, I do meditate first thing in the morning, because if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I will not do it the rest of the day. It's very difficult, and that reminder pops up and says, hey, you need to meditate. So sometimes I'll do it before I go to bed if I didn't first thing in the morning, which is rare, but it works best for me first thing in the morning. So you will find your own rhythm through trial and error. And it's really all about your own rhythm. You know you better than anybody ever will. So practicing within your own rhythm is the most important thing. So we've covered, do I need to practice every day? It's a good idea to practice something every day, but you do not need to practice 60 minutes every day. We've covered, well, what am I supposed to practice? And my easy, quick answer to that is, well, what's your favorite practice? And then we've covered, what time am I supposed to practice? And again, all of this is leading to intuition, right? Do you see that? That it's all intuitive. Rather than you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. And you will find that in some traditions, and if you're in a tradition that's you must practice this time, and you must do it this way, and you must do it this way, and you feel comfortable within that lineage, have at it. I'm not here to tell you that that's not the way that you should do things. Because maybe you're in that lineage because intuitively and instinctively, that's what works best for you. Is somebody telling you what to do? I know when I go to Shivananda ashram in the Bahamas, it's a set schedule. There's bells that ring to tell you what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do. I love it. I don't have to, oh, that's the meal bell. That's the yoga bell. That's the meditation bell. I love shutting down the whole my practice and all of this and setting all of that stuff up and just showing up and having somebody lead me into it. It feels really wonderful to not put any thought process into that. Because sometimes, even though you're trying to be intuitive and instinctive with yourself, there's still a thought process behind it. So what kinds of practices are best to do every day? Well, remember when I mentioned the Eightfold Path? Here's a simple yoga practice that you can do all day, every day. And this is the very first step on the path of yoga. It's called ahimsa. And ahimsa means non-violence, or do no harm, or the practice of kindness. You can practice that all day long. And you're still practicing yoga. You're still in the yoga practice. So this is, I'm going to call it kindness for short. Kindness in your words, thoughts, deeds, and actions. Towards yourself and towards others. So if we take this a little step deeper, kindness towards yourself and your thoughts, deeds, words, and actions. So sometimes you'll find yourself, I'll use myself as an example. My friend sent me a picture of me and I'm making a really funny face in the picture. And I remember the moment, and what came out of my mouth, what I wrote in response to it was, what is the matter with me? And I said it in a funny way, laughing, and I do think it's funny because I see stuff like that. I'm like, what is going on in my mind that at the last second when you snap a picture, I've got to do something funny with my eyes? Like I call that part of me the goober. I think it's hilarious. But I'm also like, what is that part of me? Now, if I saw that, oh my gosh, what a horrible picture. I can't believe you did that. That is not kindness towards myself. In fact, I actually enjoy seeing those pictures because it makes me laugh. And then I'm like, thank you, past Rose, for like planting a little seed of laughter in my life, the lives of my friends. But if I go that other route of, oh my gosh, I have spinach between my teeth, how could I look like a moron? That is not kindness towards myself. That's the practice of shaming myself. Or any of the discursive things. You can't do that. You don't deserve that. Don't say that. Don't do that. Are those things kindnesses? They're ways that we protect ourselves, but are they kindnesses? They're not. So practicing kindnesses towards yourself. Smile at yourself in the mirror. Go to bed a little bit earlier. Take a good book to bed with you. Have that hot chocolate. Yeah, hot chocolate's nice and grounding. I love hot chocolate. Don't like hot chocolate? Have that golden milk. Or have that second cup of coffee. Be kind to yourself. Now, if that second cup of coffee leads to all kinds of jittery, then maybe it's not a kindness. As we move kindness forward into the world, when you see somebody that's different than you, have a kindness towards them. Have a kind thought towards them. Watch how your mind may pick up a judging thought and begin to replace that judging thought with a kindness. You see the homeless person on the side of the street. They bring such an attitude to the place, or they bring the energy down, or I don't want to see that. Instead of that, you could hear that thought and even think that thought and then think, look at that person smile. Look at that person there. I'm going to do a kindness towards them. I have a water in my car. Maybe I'll offer to buy them something to eat. So beginning to shift that awareness, seeing somebody, I saw somebody wearing acid wash jeans in the store the other day, and they were like brand new jeans. And, acid wash jeans, that's a fad from the 90s. And I went, acid wash jeans are back. Like, wow, nice pants. And that was like immediately the thought correction for myself. Like, hey, why not celebrate this guy's acid wash jeans? Good for him for wearing acid wash jeans. Good for her standing out there doing that. Good for them. So it's that kindness correction, and that is something you can do all day. Hold the door for somebody. Bring a coffee for your coworker that you know loves coffee. Make a treat run. Friday's coming up. Maybe go get a box of donuts for all your coworkers on Friday. Who knows? It could be all of those things where we're extending little kindnesses forward into the world. And that is a yoga practice, and a very important yoga practice that we can do all day long. We can do it all night long. And it's simple and easy and utterly challenging at the same time. It's hard to change your thoughts. It's hard to practice a kindness towards somebody. What about somebody that somebody that's arguing with you? How do you extend a kindness to them in the moment? It could simply be thinking, wow, they're really passionate about what they believe in. That's very different from what I believe in, but they are very passionate in that. This conversation has become toxic. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to say the things that I want to say that are feeling hurtful. I'm going to walk away. Another beautiful kindness is to celebrate successes of other people. Oh, it's so great that happened to you today. Oh, it's so wonderful. That's so amazing. All the little things. So that's that first deep practice of ahimsa. And this is busting the myth that a yoga practice has to be a physical yoga posture practice. Doesn't. It can be the practice of offering kindness. Kindness, kindness, kindness. Ahimsa. It's a yoga practice. So no, it doesn't need to be a physical practice. If you feel like for you need to do a physical practice, and I highly encourage any kind of physical practice, whatever it is, because it's so good for our bodies to be moving, especially at a time when a lot of us are sitting more and more and more, either for our jobs or because we're at home without a job. So physical movement practice is excellent. What kind of yoga poses should you do? Try a balance pose. So stand on one foot. You don't have to know the name of the yoga pose to stand on one foot. Press your feet into the ground for a standing pose. Try a lunge. Try a simple twist to either side. Open the sides of your body. Put your head below your heart for an inversion. And if you're needing to shift your perspective on anything, inversions are excellent. And then rest. Shavasana. Simply rest. Just lie down and rest for a little bit. Let your body integrate. You don't have to relax in Shavasana if you don't want to. Some of us don't relax. It's okay if you're one of those people that doesn't relax. But integration is key for after a yoga practice. And integration is lying there and letting your body kind of take in what it just went through. And this is the practice of yoga. And this is why the very first line in the Yoga Sutra is Atha Yoga Nushasanam. And now begins yoga. Every moment is an opportunity to begin yoga. Yoga, the union, the bringing together, the reminder of our wholeness. Every moment is an opportunity for that. So with that said, I can definitely go on, but what I would like to offer you, and I'm going to look on Facebook too to see if there are any comments or questions on Facebook. But if you have a question about your own yoga practice or what kind of, just any question about practice in general or practice specifically, feel free to pop it in the chat on here or on Facebook, because this is live on Facebook at the same time. And I love to support you in whatever way you'd like. Maybe you want a tip for something. So let's see here. Let's get to our post and see if there are any questions. No questions there. So any questions here on the Zoom about practice? It's like a satsang. Oh, excellent. What about where to practice? Where are you supposed to practice yoga? Anywhere. That's my response to that. Anywhere you have a moment to practice yoga, practice your yoga. So some of us have the ability to have a yoga space, and I do have the ability to have a yoga space. It's also my workspace, so I do practice within my workspace. But my meditation space is not in my yoga space. It's literally right at my bed. So I get up, go to the bathroom, and then I sit down to meditate, and I sit down right against my bed. So there are a lot of things, I have my Lord of the Rings blanket that I place over my legs and meditate under. I go to Middle Earth for my meditation every morning, for those of you that are into Tolkien. And that's where I meditate, first thing in the morning. It's not my yoga space. It doesn't have my altar. It doesn't have a lot of the other things that support me when I'm doing, say, yoga practice or when I'm teaching. That's when I feel my altar is most important, is actually when I'm teaching. But you don't need any of that stuff. It's all right here in your heart. And you can bring it with you, with your heart. You don't need any of that special stuff. It's all right here. So that's where you practice yoga. Do you need a yoga mat? No, you don't need a yoga mat. Do you need props? No. I taught for years in conference rooms, and our only prop was, unless I brought in props, and I did for a little bit, but I don't want to carry all that stuff around all the time. Our props were chairs. So we just did yoga with the chairs. Instead of a block, we used a chair to prop ourselves up. So you don't need all of that stuff. What kind of clothes do you need yoga pants to practice yoga? No. As long as it's comfortable, you can practice yoga in whatever you're in. Jeans is not the most comfortable. Jeans are not the most comfortable item of clothing to practice yoga in. Have I done yoga in a dress before? Oh yeah. I like to wear dresses when I wear yoga pants, yoga clothes all the time. My coworkers are like, do you own anything other than yoga pants? Yes. And I wear stuff other than yoga pants. I wear dresses on the weekend because I enjoy that freedom. And I have done yoga in a dress before. I meditate in my PJs with my bathrobe on, so why not do yoga in a bathrobe? You'll find the things that make you feel most comfortable. My big piece of advice to you is don't practice in front of a mirror. It's a really fast track way to self-judgment. The practice in front of a mirror. We tend to look at ourselves in the mirror, and we are no longer practicing kindness when we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. That goes for those of you that do things and teach on Zoom. That goes for Zoom as well. If you're looking and talking to the camera, you don't have to look at yourself and wonder, ooh, what am I doing with my face? Ooh, what's that double chin about? Or all of the other things that we tend to say about ourselves when we're on camera. It's a real thing, a dysmorphia of what we look like, and it comes from being on Zoom all the time. There was a study done this year on it, of the increase in plastic surgery requests because we're on camera so much. No, these cameras are not flattering, so don't look at the camera, or don't look at yourself, look at the camera. Again, practicing kindness. So, I hope that supports you. I hope that discussion, or me talking to you, didn't really feel like a discussion, but I hope that really helps you in navigating your way through practice. Attending classes is a wonderful thing to do because classes give you that opportunity to shut down the mind that's like, well, what needs to happen next? Gives you the opportunity to experience new things, new ways of moving your body, new ways of being still, new ways of meditating. So I definitely recommend classes. I know a lot of us are having Zoom fatigue. I know what that feels like to have Zoom fatigue. And at the same time, I love going to classes online because I love not leaving my house. I love not driving. I feel so much more grounded. And the camera's on the other side of the room, so I don't really care. I'm not on Zoom. I'm on my mat, and I'm doing yoga with that. So you're always welcome to join me for yoga class on Wednesdays at 5. I'll teach a class right after this for an hour. We've also got past workshops that I've taught are up on the yogafordepression.com website, so you can purchase those, download. They come with handbooks for practice. I've got one coming up on nurturing your inner dignity this weekend, so we will we'll experience a little instinctive movement for ourselves during that practice. And then We've got a live program coming up with LifeForce Yoga. That's actually a 10-day immersion program. So we'll do 3 hours of live class a day for 10 days. So it'll be 5 days, 2-week break, and then another 5 days. I'm really excited about that offering because it's a deep, deep dive into practice and relationship with your practice. So all of these can be found on yogafordepression.com. I'll post links below afterwards. After I'm done with my class, I'll give you some links for those. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to watch. To those of you that sent little nuggets to me ahead of time who couldn't be here live, I hope I answered those questions, and I hope to do more of these. I had fun with this, so I hope to do more of these in the future. So if there's something that you want to learn about, something you want to know more about, let me know, and we can do another live class with that, or live session with that. So big thank you to everyone, and I hope to see you in the future. And in this last minute, let's just come back to where we started. So allow the eyes to soften. And once again, take a moment to observe your internal landscape. What's arising now? What is the pressing need that's present within your field of observation? If you've been sitting this whole time, I'm going to bet that pressing need is to move. Are there any other pressing needs arising? And how will you intuitively meet those pressing needs? And with that, let's close with the heart prayer. This is, I learned it from Chinnamasta style a number of years ago, and it's become my prayer. So I love to close all my sessions with it. So a little different than how she says it, because my brain. So I hope you'll join me. Just place the hands on the heart, and I'll say it twice. You can join in when you're ready. With great love and respect, I honor my heart, my inner teacher. With great love and respect, I honor my heart, my inner teacher. So, thank you so much to each of you again, and I hope to see you in the very near future. Namaste.